Hey there, hi there, ho there. So it has been 1 year, 40,000 miles and 30 states since I bought my Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. And I thought that might be enough of a shakedown to really get to know the pros and cons of this bike. So I'm going to go through the cons first, and then we're going to go over the bike and I'll tell you all the wonderful features on it. First of all, it bothers the bejesus out of me that I can't adjust the windscreen while I'm moving, because you have to push on it and move the bar. It is multi-adjustable, it has multiple points, but if I forget to put it up or put it down before I roll, I have to pull over somewhere to adjust my windscreen. That's kind of an eh. Also, the windscreen isn't that big, so as the weather gets colder again, I think I'm going to look at aftermarket windscreens to get more wind protection, because I do more touring than off-road, so I really need a bigger windscreen, I think, for that wind protection from the cold. In the summer, it's really good to get more airflow to have a smaller windscreen, but I think for winter, I really want a bigger one. The next thing is that the heated grips are wonderful and they light your hand up. Nice volcano temperature through the gloves, but they're starting to get worn. And yeah, 40,000 miles and all kinds of weather for a whole year, you'd expect that they do get worn, but just wanted to let you know they don't look pristine. They're not sticky though. Like some grips get sticky when they start to get broken down a little bit. So they still have a nice grippiness, but they're not that broken down rubber sticky feel. And then the third thing that I'm not real happy about is the Bluetooth on the dash. You can toggle and use the Bluetooth settings for music, for your phone, for your GoPro. Yeah, that's the one thing I do love. You can control the GoPro from the dash using the little toggle button. You can turn it on and off. Well, if it's on standby, you can turn it on, and you can always turn it off, but you can start recording and stop recording just by the press of a button, which is really, really handy. But the Bluetooth for all the other features is really glitchy, so I use the Zumo instead of the dash on the Triumph for phone calls and things like that. So this is the Tiger 900 GT Pro stock. What's not stock? The luggage. I added the luggage, so you see the luggage frame here. I'm not reviewing the luggage right now, so I took it off so you could see the bike better. I also added a Zumo on a ram mount, and I added the lower engine guard, and that's it. Other than that, this bike is bone stock. So that's it for the cons. What about the pros? Well, there's lots. I love my bike. Yeah, the summary of this whole thing is going to be, I love this bike. So, first of all, the handling. The handling is wonderful. It handles off-road very competently. It handles the highway comfortably. The riding position is very comfortable. The seat is very comfortable. And it's got two settings, high and low, and it's really easy to swap out. You just take off the back seat, and then you can move the driver's seat. And then there's this little bar in here, and you just change the bar, and that moves it to the high setting or the low setting. And then you just slide the little tongue back in there, set that down in there, working around all of the wires, because both seats are heated. Yeah, both the front and the rear are heated if you have a passenger who likes to keep her buns warm too. And there we go. So I'm 5'8" with a really long inseam, so I can flat foot just about any bike, but I still prefer the seat on the low setting. Now, this seat is so comfy, all day riding comfortable. I do 300 to 500 mile days routinely. So, averaging about 400 miles a day. But I have done 700 miles on a day. I have not done an iron butt on this bike because I choose not to do an iron butt right now. But it is comfortable. I do take breaks every 100 miles. Bear that in mind if you like to just ride. I find this seat very comfortable. Also, I find that I can reach all the controls very easily. Even though I'm a woman with small hands, I find all the controls are easy to reach. They're not too far. A lot of bikes, the controls are too far from the grip for a woman's hand. So if you have smaller hands, that's something to consider. There's even a cell phone charging compartment. And it's padded so that it keeps your cell phone stable and in place. Here's the USB port that you can use for more than just your phone. If you don't want to put your phone there, I put my iPod in here so that my iPod stays charged through the day. Okay, the next thing is the quick shifter. Oh my God, I love the quick shifter. It's awesome. So no more clutch when you're in traffic or when you want to hurry up and get somewhere off a red light. Just shift, and you're done. You don't have to clutch shift. And the quick shifter is really smooth. It works really well. Next thing, the Footpegs. They've got rubber grippy sole things there, rubber grippy pads. And I haven't had any problems with my feet slipping off the pegs, no matter what the weather, no matter how much it rained, even when it was a little icy. I didn't have any problems with my foot slipping off the pegs. They're really grippy. The bike has a center stand, which makes chain maintenance so much easier. Whenever I need new tires, I can take the wheels off myself. I don't need to go to the shop for them to mount the wheels, for them to remove the wheels and remount them for me. So I can go to a bike shop anywhere, parts shop, and swap the wheel out in the parking lot when they've done the tire swap on the rim for me. So center stand is really a big deal for me. And like I say, this is a bone stock bike. So the bike is really nimble and flickable. The power delivery is really smooth. You can really hammer on it at any RPM and it'll respond beautifully. There's nothing abrupt about it, like sometimes the VTEC on the VFR 800 would be abrupt sometimes. But this is very smooth, linear power delivery. The triple sounds great too, but the triple provides awesome torque. Plenty of torque, more than I need, and as much as I want. Also, the braking is really effective. It won't throw you over the handlebars like some bikes, but it grips. You can stop very quickly. It's very effective, and the rear brake too. I found that with the right tires, I was very comfortable off-road, and I even did 2 miles of fire road, 2 miles on a fire road, and yeah, watch out for that video. It's going to drop in a few weeks. Okay, that brings me to tires, and for that I'm going to need my notes. So the Road Tech Metzler is the stock tire on here, and that was great for highways. I found it really comfortable on the highway. The Tourance, just the plain old Tourance, was more ADV oriented, and I found it was less stable at highway speeds than the previous or the next tires. I got the Tourance Next 2 after that. But going back to the Tourance gave me great confidence and was really sure-footed off-road. So if I'm going to be doing more off-road riding, I'd prefer something more ADV oriented, more like the Tourance. Then the tires that I have on now, the Tourance Next 2. And the Next 2 are kind of that compromise between the Road Tech and the Tourance. And those are the ones that I took 2 miles down a fire road, back and forth 4 miles. The various riding modes are amazing. When you put it in sport, let me tell you, it is sporty. This is a really sporty bike. The road mode is really good. The rain mode works really well. The throttle response and the braking and everything are a little bit different. I absolutely love it. Makes it much easier to ride in all different kinds of terrains and circumstances and all kinds of weather. So you'll definitely notice a difference. The modes really do make a difference. It's not just for show. I love the accessory fog lights, but you have to remember to turn them on once the bike is going. You can't turn them on right when you turn on the bike. It has to be running so that you can hit those accessory lights. And I like to have them both for seeing better at night, but also to be more visible during the day. So I always turn my fog lights on, and they're really effective at illuminating and being seen, helping to be seen. Woo. Now let's get to comfort and convenience features. Ooh, okay. Power ports. Let's start with the power ports. There's a power port up here in front of the steering head. There's another power port right here under the passenger seat. And then already touched on the cell phone USB charging case under the passenger seat. Oh, boy, is this bike durable. It is. I've had a couple of low-speed tip-overs. One of them was a standing tip-over. But besides the mirror having a few scratches and I broke the tip off my brake, that's a breakaway tip. So it did exactly as it was intended to do. It broke off instead of damaging the brake system. But one of the brush guards, when I tipped over to the left, the brush guard cracked. I probably could have glued it back together, but I went ahead and got a new one instead. Warranty issues. What issues have I had with the bike? I have not had any major issues. I have noticed that it burns oil about a quart every 6,000 miles. I did bring this up with the dealership, and they said that according to Triumph, 1 quart every 6,000 miles is still within tolerance. So that's something to kind of keep an eye on and make sure you do your oil changes at the proper interval, 6,000 miles or less. The other thing that I noticed was I started getting some condensation in my rear turn signal, my left turn signal. I pointed it out and I got a new turn signal right away. They warrantied that one. The TPMS, the tire pressure monitoring system on my rear tire, started to be glitchy. So they replaced that under warranty. So that was awesome. No muss, no fuss. The dealership took care of it. And they really stand behind their product. They really stand behind their bikes. Any other issues? No, haven't had any other issues with this bike. So in 40,000 miles, riding from 16 degrees to over 100 degrees, this bike has always performed beautifully. I haven't had any problems with starts. I haven't had any problems with stalling. Haven't had any issues anywhere, anytime. It has been dead nuts reliable, and it's easy to work on, which is a big advantage when you're on the road. It's easy to maintain the chain because I have the center stand. The oil filter is real easy to reach, and you just need to take off the brush guard underneath, the plastic brush guard. You just need to drop that. It's 5 bolts, and you can change the oil dead easy, which brings me to cost of ownership. The initial shakedown service is at 600 miles, and then subsequent service intervals are every 6,000. So when it's just an oil change and, chain maintenance and things like that, I do that myself. But when it comes to valve checks and bigger checks, about every 12,000 miles, I let the dealership do that. And that's for warranty purposes. I want to make sure that the bike is taken care of up to Triumph specs. And I have them do the every 12,000. That being said, I found that the prices for dealer service vary by region, because some places a mechanic per hour is a lot more expensive, and other places a mechanic per hour is a lot cheaper. So do your research, do your homework, and if you're going to be traveling, check out the pricing and the pricing differences between different places that you might be able to have the bike serviced for the big every 12,000 mile services, it might save you a lot of money. Okay, so in 40,000 miles, how many chains have I gone through? I am on my third chain. The stock chain lasted just shy of 13,000 miles. The second one lasted 15,000 miles. And the third one is still going strong at over 12,000 miles. Standard interval for oil change is 6,000 miles. That's what's prescribed. The oil filter and the crush washer are unique to the Tigers, well, to Triumph. Triumph's, all their bikes use the same oil filter, which is great. So any dealership will have the right oil filter for you and should have it in stock. Same thing with the crush washer. But don't just go to any parts store and get a filter and a crush washer that's supposed to be the right diameter. Because the crush washer goes up into a well. It doesn't lie flat, it goes up into a well. So the outer diameter and the inner diameter have to be just right. So get the Triumph original crush washer and oil filter if you're gonna do your own oil changes. The valve service. When I had the valve service done, I did notice there was an increase in the miles per gallon of about 3 to 4 miles per gallon. So that was significant. Something to note when you're getting sticker shock and having a valve check. So remember, it's going to help with your miles per gallon, and other performance is going to improve after a good valve check if your valves are out of spec. Right now, I'm getting about 50 miles to the gallon, which is, I think, good when I'm fully loaded. And when I say fully loaded, I have 2 panniers, a top case, and a 40-liter dry bag. And I am loaded for bear. I am maxed out on all of the weight, and I ride as though I had a passenger and luggage, which, by the way, the preload is adjustable on the fly. So anytime you stop, you can change the preload. Oh, gee, I've got a passenger. I forgot to adjust the preload. No problem. You're at a red light, adjust the preload, you're good to go. So that's another thing I absolutely love. So much you can do from the dash that's on the fly. Dealership availability is the last thing I'm going to touch on. I have not had any trouble finding a dealership when I needed a dealership. There are lots of dealerships all over the country. If you think you're going to need a dealership while you're out and about, do take note of where they are, where you're going to be traveling, so that if you run into any issues, you know, okay, my next dealership is going to be in Phoenix, or okay, there's a dealership in Colorado Springs. So kind of make note of which dealerships are going to be along your way on your travels. I found that really helpful to kind of know where the next dealership is, but there are plenty of them all over the US. So I think that's it for my notes. This is the Tiger 900 GT Pro, and I absolutely love him. So if you've liked this review, please hit like, subscribe, hit that little bell icon in the corner so that you know when the next video drops, and get the fuck off your couch and go have an adventure.